All right, gents, this is going to be quick and fast. I'm sorry. No shenanigans this week as I am in Savannah, Georgia for a wedding uh, and don't have any time. But going to give you your recap for the week. Week 10, here we go. Starting off with my matchup versus the man, the myth, the legend, Tom Gunn. I made a executive decision to sit my starting roster um, as I forecasted myself to be in tank mode. Um, However, I forgot we gotta make a damn video if you have the lowest score, so that won't be happening going forward. Sorry, everybody else. Congratulations, Tom, for the easy win. But he smashed me 72 to 28.3. Um, Moving right along to Fiddle and Beans versus Monstars. We've got Jason versus Varnum. This was a close matchup at the start, but Jason just took off with it at the end. Uh, Basically, Dak Prescott decided to show up in the last 3 weeks and drop some bombs. And Varnum had the unfortunate event of starting the Giants quarterback, DeVito, who looks like a high school football player. I mean, the entire Giants team looks like they're in high school. But nevertheless, it was a close matchup and Fincham was able to roll away with it with some of his high-performing players of Prescott, Singletary, Cooks, St. Brown. All had great games, giving him the W and bringing him to 4-6, and also in a great contention for that wild card spot. Moving on to our next matchup, we've got Steven versus Tony. Tony, man, surprisingly, a year doing very well for the team he was left. And Stevens turned it around to be perfect 500 at 5-5 in that number 5 spot right now in the playoffs. We'll see if he can keep it together through the rest of the season. But Stevens got some notable players here. Brian Robinson, Bijan, finally showed up, finally had a game of some value this year. It's been real frustrating, I know, as an Atlanta fan, but also I'm sure as a fantasy owner, if Bijan's going to do shit or not every week. Goff had a good game for him. Olave, I don't know if he can continue with the quarterback situation there in New Orleans, but fuck New Orleans, we don't care about them. And Tony, man, had a few progressive players do well. Brian Robinson over to Washington had a good game, as well as pretty average performance from the rest of his team. I know Tony's looking to probably look for a draft spot this year, but his team has performed well, again, given to what lead left him. So another good matchup there. Steven takes a W, headed towards the playoffs, and moves us into Jay Bush versus Kurt. A lot of trash talking going on in this game. And Curtis pulls out the high score of the week at 160.88 with a W against Bush. Kurt has a banging performance by CeeDee Lamb, who has also turned up the temperature along with the Cowboys for the last 3 weeks. I mean, of course, they're playing the Giants, and everybody kind of expected that game to be a fucking blowout. But anyways, Lamb does well. Keenan Allen had a huge game in that shootout versus Detroit. That was a fun game to watch. And then Jamar Chase showed up and threw down 20 points with the Bengals. Now, as far as Bush, he had some bang-up performances by Herbert, but he left Dobbs on the bench, which actually was a good decision, judging because Herbert got some more points. But not much Bush could do considering his bench pretty much fell flat. So he started the best potential lineup he could get. Had some good points out of Hawkinson. Ultimately, Kurt was able to take it 160 to 108. But Bush still at 6-4, number 4 spot that week, and in playoff contention. So good luck to both of you guys. Both sitting at 6-4 right now. Moving on to our next matchup, Kenny versus Davo. This was a lot closer than I think everyone expected. Somehow Davo got away with a steal, 69 to 62 against Ken. Both players were projected way higher, but just completely shit the bed. Now for Ken, obviously Derek Carr getting knocked out didn't help him. For Davo, Lamar had a off week for him. But with the big trade that happened. Was able to put in Eckler, get some points out of him, which actually was his highest scoring player that week. And Ken just had an unfortunate showing by a majority of his team. Tyler Boyd is the only other player on his team to really do work that week and get 15.7. This brings Davo to 8-2, and is slated the number one spot. And Ken still 3-7 in last place at the current moment. So Ken, you're along with me, probably looking for tank mode. In our last matchup of the week, we had Ian's Smashing Blumpkins versus Chad's Year of the Dog. Hasn't been the year of the dog for Chad, unfortunately. Injuries have riddled his team, and it's been a tough road. But in this matchup, Josh Allen, don't know what's up with the Buffalo Bills. Thank God they found their offensive coordinator. Maybe you can get some production out of that for the rest of the year. But Ian takes the win. He's got some good performances out of Kamara and his running back Williams in Denver. Mike Evans had a huge game that week, dropping 23 points, and so did Rachaad White. So Bucks succeeded, Ian succeeded, and beat Chad, who only had a great performance out of Jonathan Taylor. Everybody else on the team kind of just didn't do anything. I feel your pain. But both players and both teams, had a lot of buys, had a lot of injuries, so it's tough, this late in the season to add anybody and make it happen. So this brings Ian to 4-6. So Ian maybe still sneaking in the playoff contention, and Chad also at 4-6. So the wild card spot is kind of up for grabs between the four of us. I think in our league's history, we've never had a winner that's not been the number one spot. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this year, if there's a potential for that. I think most teams are one injury away from losing that playoff contention and dropping, in the bottom half. So we'll have another exciting week here in week 11. And I'm sure I'll be back on one of these videos where I'll have one of my famous, characters. But unfortunately for this week, I ran out of time. So this is your weekly update for week 11. Y'all suck dick, so have fun. Bye.